How's it going, Teak Nation? Ethan Wells here, the Associate Regional Director for Region 2. I just wanted to bring you guys a video today to help you better suit you for the future. This one's specifically about officer elections and how to operate a better election process during the transitioning of officers. So I wanted to start out, give everybody a shout out there. I appreciate you guys joining in and watching. I hope everybody's doing great. And if you ever need anything from me or any other member of the professional staff, please do reach out. Give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, whatever works for you guys. We'll make sure to get back to you and help you out with whatever you need. So to get this thing started off, my first piece of advice is just setting a unified date for officer elections months out in advance. This could be as early as beginning of the semester leading up to officer elections. This could be the previous semester before that. This could be as soon as the election ends, setting the date for the next election next year. Right? The earlier you can get it out there, the better off the chapter is going to be. You never know when somebody's going to get that itch and say, hey, I really want to be an officer. I really want to be a Hypophites. I really want to be the Preakness. I really want to be the Hegemon. And then maybe it just kind of fizzles out because they don't know when that date is, especially our newer guys coming in, our new members, our new candidates. They don't know when that date is. So the earlier you can get that set on your all's calendar, the better off you're going to be. This also allows for time for these guys who potentially want to run for a position to get some better information from the current person in that position, right? To maybe shadow under them. So the earlier you can get that data out, the better off. The second piece of advice I have is to make sure that you have an easily accessible sign-up sheet. Having something to put out there, again, weeks ahead of the election, that says, hey, this is the Preakness sheet, sign up if you want to run for Preakness. This is the EPI sheet, sign up if you want to run for EPI, so on and so forth. That does a few different things. That gives the current officers a better idea of what positions are already signed up for and being ran for. If you have 8 guys running for Hegemon and nobody running for Hypophites, maybe we can talk to some of those guys who are trying to run for Hegemon. Hey, man, we want you to be an officer, and we think your best fit's going to be in the Hypophites spot. So how about you sign up for that? So that gives the current officers in the chapter a better idea. It also gives the chapter, an idea of who is going to be eligible for that position, right? We want to make sure that whoever our officers are, they're the outstanding members of our chapter. They're the ones who are great students on campus, they're great leaders, and they're very, very involved. So giving the chapter an idea of who that person is that wants to run for that spot and whether or not they have that eligibility, is going to be better for the chapter moving forward for the elections in those positions. And it also cut out some time during the election by cutting some of those guys out that aren't eligible. Make sure you take the elections as seriously as you would take a formal meeting or initiation or a formal ritual, I should say. These new officers that are coming in or being elected for that position, they are the future of the chapter. It's very important that, elections are usually one of the longer meetings anyway, just because of the deliberation, especially if you have a larger chapter, right? If you guys have 50, 60 men, elections are going to last a lot longer because everybody's got to make sure they get their voice out there and their voice is heard. So make sure everybody takes it seriously. Nobody should be texting, nobody should be on their phone, nobody should be Snapchatting, recording. Whatever the case is, make sure everybody is focused and attentive to what's going on and people who are speaking about the position they want to be in the future. With that as well, don't get caught in the repetition. Give each member an allotted time. First of all, the people who are running for the elected positions, give them an allotted time to speak. At about 5 minutes, it should be cut off. And then maybe a couple minutes after that for questions. And then, of course, during the deliberations as a chapter and talking about, okay, I feel like this person should be in the role because of this. I feel like this person should be in the role because of this. Again, don't get caught in that repetition. Make sure each member has probably like 3 minutes, I think would be the best bet to speak on why they believe so-and-so should be the Hegemon. Just because, again, if we get in that repetition, if we get caught saying the same things, if we get somebody who just goes off on a tangent, right, and keeps talking without a cutoff time, the meeting's going to run 4, 5, 6 hours, if not longer. And I don't think anybody wants to sit there for that long to talk about elections. But with that as well, make sure you give the chapter enough time for the elections to finish. You don't want to get caught up in one specific position and then realize that, now it's 10 o'clock at night, everybody's hungry, they want to go home. If your usual meeting time is at 7 and you last for an hour to 2 hours, I would say maybe start early. I mean, you guys have all been through elections. You know what that process looks like. Maybe they're longer than they should be. And, looking through this information that we have, they're longer than they should be. So you can trim those down. But maybe also they need to be 3-4 hours to make sure that you get the most out of those elections and the chapter is fully attentive and they deliberate exactly how they need to. So if you need to start an hour earlier, right, then make sure you go out of your way to do that. Don't keep the guys there super late into the night and into the morning unless it's absolutely necessary. But I don't think you need to do that. Again, if you start the meeting, usual meeting time is at 7, started an hour or two earlier. That gives you plenty of time to do the elections the right way, to wrap up at normal time or close to normal time, and that sends everybody on their way at a decent time. That way they can get some sleep, get some food, whatever the case may be. And then the last thing that I have and I wanted to talk about was to keep a copy of the official guide for officer elections on you. There should always be a record keeper, and there should always be someone who keeps that copy of, basically a rule book or a guidebook is the best way to put it. So we have that on our resources page. If you go to TEAC.org/resources, there's actually a copy of the official guide for officer elections on there that you can print off. You could have that on a computer on you, whatever is easier for you. Just make sure you keep that on there because there's so many different intricate and little things and different rules to follow as far as an idea to keep, how much time should we allot somebody for questions? How much time should we allot for deliberation among the chapter? All those little things to keep order as best as possible and to make sure that you guys do the elections at the best of your capabilities and then send everybody on their way without spending too much time, all sitting in a room together, trying to debate, who is going to be the histor and who's going to be the hegemon. So there's a lot of good pieces of information in there. We've spent a lot of time developing these resources for you. It has a lot more than I've covered in this video, which is, the point of a guide like that. So make sure you keep a copy of that on you. But that's all I got. Thank you guys again for joining in. And if you have any questions, please do reach out. As a staff, we're also more than happy to help with those elections and help guide you all through those elections during that process if it comes to that. So whatever works for you all, thank you all for joining in and have a great day. I love the fraternity.